And joining us right now, the Rothman Orthopedic Guest Line, one of my favorite people on the planet to talk to and then occasionally talk about sports with, Reuben Frank of NBC Sports Philadelphia. What's up, Rube?
Hey, Mark.
Hey, man. I was just reading something.
Everybody, we just sat here and talked for 20 minutes about we could have used that as a segment. We just BS'd about Maine and running into random people and all kinds of things. So
well, for the people, just a real quick synopsis of it. You would go to Maine on vacation with your family. You and your daughter would go up and you have this great time in Maine. And I'm like, who goes to, I didn't know anybody that went to Maine except you. And then we just put it together. I just realized your dad went to college up that way.
Well, he grew up in Portland. And so we started out going to visit his mom when I was little. We would go up twice a year, visit my dad's mom, my grandmother. So and I've been going ever since.
Beautiful. I mean, I do love, there's a forest up there, right? They got like trees and stuff. It's not like a city.
Maine is not like a city. Maine is 99% wilderness.
Gotcha. So it's like a big Fairmount Park, like even bigger Fairmount Park. Got it.
That's exactly.
I want to show people this because obviously you write the 10 observations every week.
Can I give you a Fairmount Park stat since we're doing stats here? Fairmount Park is the largest park in the world that sits entirely within one municipality.
I did not know. I knew it was the biggest city park in the country. I didn't know the whole world in one municipality.
One municipality. Yeah. Like it's way bigger than Central Park.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
It almost goes into White Marsh Township, but it stops right at like George's Diner there on Germantown Avenue. You know that place? It's like right on the corner there.
Yes,
like when you're going up into Plymouth meeting.
Yes. Anyway. Yeah. No. That's the line. That's the line of demarcation. I think if you look it up on Wikipedia, it goes until George's Diner. But I do want to show people this one more time because you do write the 10 observations on a weekly basis. Does a great job as per usual and all the things you write. But this is always a hot button issue for a lot of people. People are always clicking on this because it's just information in your face regarding your Philadelphia Eagles. There were two in particular that I wanted to go over with you before we get into the meat and potatoes of the Eagles. But one thing that really jumped out was that record, rushing record for touchdowns in a season. I never thought we would see this in the modern era of football, but yet here we are. They're one touchdown away from scoring their most rushing touchdowns in a single season.
Yeah, and especially the way the season started off where it actually ran the ball a lot in the Falcons game, which is interesting. They started off the season running it really well. They won that game going away, but then Nick just got away from it, and he just didn't dial it up. And so to be where they are now after going through that, I mean, there was one game where I think the running backs had 3 carries. There was a game where Miles had 1 carry. So to be here sitting at 24 rushing touchdowns, which is one, like you said, one shy of the record. The record is 25, set in 1941 in 10 games and tied in 1945 in 12 games. So it's a record that goes back a long time. And that's not the way most teams play football, but they've got some backs, mainly, Jalen and Boston Scott. Boston Scott's got 7 touchdowns, and he's not even like a regular. He didn't even play the first half of the season. He's just got such a nose for the end zone. So I think the word is anachronistic way of playing football, but it's working for this team with this O-line and these backs and Jalen. It's a very productive and efficient way to move the ball and score.
Why do you think in the middle portions there, before they made the change, why do you think Nick Sirianni got away from the run?
I think he's a guy that loves to throw the football, and he loves the passing offense. And, he's been around. You think about the quarterbacks he's been around, Andrew Luck and Phillip Rivers. They're just their pocket, chuck it 50 times a game type passers. So I think he kind of, it just took him a while to break out of that mold that he had been in his whole career. He had never really been with a running quarterback and a running team. So I think he just had to. Now it took a few weeks. It probably took a few weeks longer than it should have. But the whole city was like rioting over running the ball. And look, if you have Phillip Rivers, it makes sense to play football that way. You're going to win a lot of games. But you have a young quarterback who's just finding his way, his first year as a starter, and kind of maybe inconsistent wide receivers. It didn't make sense. And he was putting Jalen in a very difficult position. And I think it just kind of clicked. I think it clicked in the start of that Vegas game those first two drives when Miles had, he got hurt on the second drive, but those first two drives, he ran the ball great. The O-line was into it. They ended up running for 130, 140 yards in that game, even without Jordan Howard was still on the practice squad. So without Miles and Jordan, and I think that day it just clicked in his mind. I can score points this way. I can move the ball this way. The O-line loves it, and it's taken pressure off my 23-year-old quarterback. Light bulb. So they've been doing it ever since, and here they are, 9-7.
Is that adjustment the most impressive thing Nick Sirianni has done this season to you? If not, what is it?
No, I think the most impressive thing to me is keeping this team dialed in and buying in at 2-5 coming out of Vegas. They were one of the worst teams in the league. I think there were 4 teams that had a worse record after 7 weeks. And that's when he gave that speech about, the growth underground, which really was a great metaphor for a team that, and it really pissed me off how many people mocked him and made fun of him for that. And, he said plant, not flower. So
right.
You gotta keep that in mind.
Like he could have meant an oak tree.
Well, the metaphor works because, he was making this point that, on the outside, you can't see the growth, but I see it. It's there. Just keep doing what you're doing and it's going to pay off. And it has. And they're 7-2 since he made that speech. And, I talked to a bunch of players the next day, and we don't get to pick who we talk to anymore. Like we're not in the locker room. So they bring players out to a tent. Now we're doing it virtually. Mm-hmm. But up until last week, we would talk to these. And I asked every player who came out about that speech and what it meant to them. And they all said, it really resonated because he has such a different way. Like a lot of guys you're used to hearing coaches speak the same way, use the same cliches and the same, just got to work hard or whatever it is. They said Nick's way of expressing what he's thinking is so different and unique that it really resonates. And it really kind of makes an impression on guys and they remember it and they live by it. And to me, taking that team and keeping them positive and believing in themselves and believing in him at their lowest point, sitting there 2-5, they'd lost what, 5 of 6, 2-5. They were 1-1. So they'd lost 4 or 5 games, all by double digits, or they were trailing by double digits at one point. They were getting blown out every week and he kept it together. And so when they started winning, it was like they didn't change anything. They just kind of kept staying with that process. And it's been really cool to watch. To me, that's the most impressive thing. Kind of reminded me of Doug, his first year in 2016. That team went through a lot with, I think about that Cincinnati game. They were getting blown out.
Yeah.
A couple guys were arrested. There's just a lot going on and a lot of adversity. And Doug did just a beautiful job, keeping it on the rails and keeping the guys, bought in, and obviously paid off the next year. They didn't go to the playoffs that year, but they believed in him and you could tell it was going in the right direction. So that's been the most impressive thing to me.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, one of the other things I wanted to highlight from your 10 observations article was his jump in completion percentage. He's only the 3rd quarterback, according to Roob's 10 observations on NBC Sports Philly and the My Team's app. He's one of only 3 quarterbacks to take a jump of, was it 52% to over 60% in his first to second year?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think people drew some conclusions about Jalen Hurts after his rookie year without keeping in mind that he can improve. Like he's allowed to get better. Quarterbacks get better. Everybody does, and he had a chance to do it. And he did. I mean, to go from 52% to just under 62%. Yeah, the only quarterbacks who've ever done that are Steve DeBerg with the Niners in the late 70s and our old friend Vince Young with the Titans. Mr. Dream Team himself did it in 06 and 07, I think it was. And he's really improved. If you made a list at the end of last year of all the things he needed to improve on, he's improved on every one of them. Like he's more careful with the ball. He's been more accurate. I think he's seeing the field better. I think he's running smarter. I think his pocket awareness has gotten better. He's worked on every single aspect that needed improving and got a pretty good quarterback.
All right. People definitely need to check that out. Roob's 10 observations, a whole bunch of stuff surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles. Stay on Jalen Hurts for a second here. Is he the quarterback of the future? Is he the quarterback next year? To ask you this question that everyone's getting asked, everyone's talking about, who is Jalen Hurts to you right now, Reuben Frank?
Yeah, I mean, that's, look, they're in the playoffs. I don't know how you make a change now. And, you look at the options out there and it's like, where are you going to find somebody who's going to come in next year and be better than he is now, or how better than he will be? You really want to trade for a veteran? Like, I mean, the Eagles are better than the Seahawks. We're the Seahawks, 5-10-1.
Yeah, I believe that's what they are right now. Yeah.
And Russell Wilson is 33. You really want to pay all that money, give up draft picks to have an aging, and I like Russell Wilson. He's a Hall of Famer and he's still pretty good, but it doesn't make sense. The best course of action is to take those draft picks and surround Jalen with as much talent as you can. I mean, he's really got one reliable wide receiver. I mean, Quez has been okay at times, and they don't really target him as much as they could. He's had Miles has been in and out of the lineup. So I think when you look at what he's got to work with and the improvement he's made, he's cost controlled for another 2 years, which is important when you want to build around a young quarterback. They're not going to draft a quarterback. It doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense to trade for one. So I think that the logical thing is to, you're not committing to having him for the next 10 years, but you bring him back next year, you surround him with better talent. You expect him to improve on the things he needs to improve on, which he's shown he'll do. He works so hard, that's not going to be a problem. And, if they're a playoff team with him now, you get to upgrade the defense, upgrade the receiver position. Hopefully we're not going through all this COVID stuff at this time next year. And I think you have a chance to be a pretty special team.
Speaking of improving, to go off the quarterback subject for a second here, Jordan Mailata, when you talk about a rugby player,
I love these segues, by the way.
Are they perfect?
Your segues, man, they kick ass. So I just want to.
Yeah, right, exactly. Thank you. The Jordan Mailata, that guy, he loves Portland, Maine, by the way, in case you didn't know that. His improvement from rugby player to now left tackle, people gave him Pro Bowl consideration. They really like him, obviously. Jordan Mailata's jump to what he is right now. How impressive is that?
It's incredible. It's one of the more amazing things I've ever seen. And, you think, I mean, he's been here 4 years. He got here. I'll never forget his first rep. I watched his first rep of his first OTA in spring of 2018. And he didn't even know how to get into a stance. He didn't know how to put his pads on. Stoutland's just guys are laughing at him. He never played football. He never played football on any level to go from that to what he is now. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And I Howie Roseman deserves a ton of credit for drafting him in the 7th round. It doesn't matter where you get a guy. That was the same, say you got Dillard in the 7th round and Mailata in the 1st round. Well, those are 2 good picks. So you flip-flop him and you can't rip him, for drafting Dillard without giving him credit for drafting Mailata. So it's got to work both ways. But I think he deserves a lot of credit. Stoutland deserves a ton of credit, but Jordan does for just coming so far. We didn't think he had a chance to ever play. He had back problems his first couple of years. He ended up on IR both years, never played. I mean, he was just, he was a guy we would see in the locker room and we felt bad for him. It's like, man, he's never going to play football. It's really one of the more remarkable things I've ever seen. And he's so good. It's a crime that he and Lane weren't even, alternates for the Pro Bowl. I mean, this team's been so blessed with left tackles. You go from Trey Thomas to Jason Peters, and now you have Mailata. I mean, what is he? He's still 23. I mean, it's because he didn't play college football. He was young when he got here. Got a left tackle for the next decade.
Not bad. Now you've built up my transition so much. I have no idea my segues. I don't even know how to ask the next question. So I guess I'll just ask you this. Are the starters going to play on Saturday?
I can't imagine why. There's no reason because, you'll face the same team. If you're the 6th seed, you play Tampa. If they're the 6th seed, that's the only team they can play. If they're the 7th seed, you can play the Rams, the Cards, the Cowboys, or Tampa. So there's no benefit in being the 6th seed. There's no benefit. Usually there's a benefit in moving up. You're playing a worse team. But I think Dallas, Dallas, Tampa, and
LA.
the Rams are, I mean, they're in a class of their own. So you want to play Arizona. You want to have a chance to play Arizona. I think they're the kind of the weakest team of the 4 teams they have a chance to play. So there's no reason to win the game unless you just want to say we're 10-7, which there's really no reason to do. It would be a nice thing, but the one thing is there's only so many guys who can be active, and depending how many of the COVID guys they get back by Saturday, some of the starters will have to play just because you need 22 guys out there. So I think some of them, I think that, the older veteran guys, like, and Kelsey's an interesting one because he's got that streak going. He hasn't missed a game since 2014. I know he'd like to at least play the first series. But Jalen Hurts, no way. Fletcher Cox, Lane Johnson, no way. A guy like TJ Edwards, maybe, you play him a couple series, maybe some of the younger guys. But I think it's going to look like a preseason game out there. And
for both sides?
I don't know what Dallas is going to do. They can do whatever they want. I don't care. Dallas. I know he said he's going to approach it like a regular game, but I can't imagine he will. It just doesn't make sense. I think, but you think about it, like teams play all year to get a bye week before the playoffs, right? You want to be, well, until this year it was a top 2 seed. Now it's a top 1 seed, which I hate. But if you have a chance to get a bye week, even though you didn't earn one, why not take it? Like,
right.
you play the whole year to try to get a bye week. So here it is. It just fell in your lap. Take advantage of it.
Right. Last thing for you, and it's back on the quarterback. Jalen Hurts is about another division rival writing the letter to the Washington football team and NFL officials about the guardrail collapsing right in front of him with fans falling at his feet. What did you make of the franchise right now, the quarterback of the Eagles, writing that letter?
Good for him. I mean, he's 23. I mean, he's such a, I don't know. He's just got so much perspective on life, and he's such a wise young guy, and it's all really genuine. I mean, like he's really concerned about people falling out of there, and he should be. I mean, you've been to that stadium. I mean, that's a hellhole. I ranked all 55 NFL stadiums that I've ever covered a game in. I think it was 2 years ago I did that. And the Astrodome was last. You probably never covered.
No, I only walked outside the Astrodome because the Texans play right next to it now.
Yeah, Energy Stadium. That's where Villanova won a national title, by the way.
That's right. That's right.
Well, yeah, I know. I was there.
You were there.
But the Astrodome is the worst stadium I've ever been in.
Okay.
FedEx was 54th. So it was FedEx. Like, FedEx is worse than the Vet. And like, I don't glorify the Vet at all. I hated the Vet, but FedEx is worse. They used prefab, like concrete. They built it like they were trying to build it before Jack Kent Cooke died. He wanted to see it built, which he ended up not doing. But they rushed it. It's got no character. It's got no personality. It's just like this. Remember the old Shea Stadium? It's just like this blob of concrete in the middle of a like suburban neighborhood. It's an awful, awful, horrible place. So that didn't surprise me that it happened. They don't maintain it. It's fallen to pieces. They already need a new stadium. It's really the same age as the Link, which is incredible. Anyway, to get back on your question, I give Jalen a lot of credit because, coming from him, it's going to be, people are going to keep up on Washington getting that thing fixed and reinforcing any railings that they need to reinforce. And, he's going to make sure that gets done. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
All right, this is the last one for you. I promise you. I remember I never followed up with you.
The last one was the last one.
I know, but and whenever I
starting, man,
whenever I
can't miss the pyramid, Mark.
All I want to know is who won the concert contest. You and your friend tried to go to the most concerts individually, not together, but separate. Who won that contest? You were up to like 320 in 1 year. Who won? It
was 2017. The road to 300. There's still litigation going on, so I'm not really at liberty to comment.
All right.
I saw 383 concerts. He saw, I think he finished at 371. He claims that he got to 300 faster, but he misrepresented the number of concerts he had been to going into the last day of it. And then he texted me. We were both at different shows. Like most of them, we went to a lot of shows together. But he texted me, said, "Oh, I counted wrong. I'm actually over 300 now."
Whatever. All right. If it comes to numbers, I trust Reuben Frank over anybody else.
Right. So hopefully, the litigation. I mean, we're taking it all the way to Supreme Court, baby.
Let me know. All right. I know the 10,000 pyramid is starting soon. Good luck watching that. I know you know all the answers already. From NBC Sports Philadelphia, make sure you guys check him out right here for Roob's 10 observations, as well as give him a follow on Twitter if you don't already. You got 121,000, my friend.
Wow.
Not too shabby. Not too shabby.
And that's
Reuben
like
Frank.
Block like 300,000. So.
Roob, always great catching up, my friend. Thanks so much. Check him out from NBC Sports Philadelphia, the great, and the My Teams app, the great Reuben Frank. Thanks, Roob.
Thanks, Mark.